So I'm also going to scan it and post it. So whatever works for you. If you want to write down the correct answers, you do that. But some of you mixed up depreciation with the value, right? So the first step was to find the depreciation, like how much did you lose, and that was 67.98. So you find 15%, right? You subtract that to get your second year, you get another loss. So these two combined is what you're after. To find the value of the vehicle after 2 years, you have two options. I go original minus what I lost. So 17,701.25. Okay. Next, we had this one threw some of you off, and sometimes it's just what we call arithmetic. You didn't type it in right, or something went wrong. But really, you want to find the sticker. Stickers add up whatever shows up. Whatever shows up, shipping, whatever. Then subtract your trade-in, right, which I did. Then I add a 12% tax. So that's the answer you're supposed to get. Some of you wanted to do the small numbers on the side. Still okay. Like you could have added 12% to it on the side and then combine it with the car itself. But something went wrong along the way. I couldn't tell exactly why. It was probably the way you typed it in. So, and then the next one, explain why you should go with a used vehicle rather than a new one. So I go here. It would be cheaper to insure. She would pay less in depreciation charges. She wouldn't have to pay shipping, right? If she goes with a used one, you don't pay for that. Things like that I'm looking for here specifically. Okay. Question 4, parts and labor. Basically, just go 4 shocks, right? 4 times 65 is 260. 4 times 39.99. So brake pads, 2 wipers at 950. That's $19, right? And then you add it up, and it was before taxes, right? It said before taxes. So that's the answer I wanted there. For B, it's your used private. This is a private sale from a friend, right? So some of you got this formula wrong. The biggest one, make sure you correct it. Some of you are multiplying here instead of adding. It's saying purchase price plus this part, right? So not times. And some of you, something is going wrong here with your, when you're adding taxes to your parts and labor. Something isn't right there. Some of you just had the 1.12 show up like that. That should not be the case, right? If there are no parts and labor, then this whole thing goes to 0, right? So, and I encourage you to show me the intermediate steps, which a lot of you did. And so this is the final price of that car, including parts and labor. So way to go. Most of you did pretty good there. Oh, this is a classic mistake. Times 1.12. Like you double tax, and that's a -1. All right, guys. So I had to take off a full mark there. Let's go to the next page. Okay. And here, you know what? You need to have your formulas for loans, right? So you purchase a car, you take away the down payment, then you go find the rate per $1,000, which is from this table here, 5 years at 5.5%. You get this much per month. And it says calculate the total interest. That's TI. You should have TI on your formula sheet, which is payment times 12 times 5 years it is, minus the loan, right? The loan you get after subtracting. I would always say figure out what this is. It's 27,300, and then you get this as your loan total interest. And some of you went 0.8, and that's a rounding error. It has to be 80. Write down some of the advantages, disadvantages on your study sheet, right? If it just says state, you don't even have to explain, but it would be safer, more fuel economy. You have the option to customize, so those are advantages. Yeah, go for it. And then disadvantages, higher depreciation costs, cost more to insure, you pay registration fees, you pay for shipping, What else is a disadvantage? Shipping costs more to insure. I already talked about that. Options cost more, yada yada, right? Like we have those things in our notes. So just flip through your notes and find some things that stick out. Next, we have a private sale again. So this is use private formula. We're buying it for this much. The book value is higher, so that's what we pay PST on. Safety, Leon search, they both were 45. No big deal, right? But I still had to plus 1.12 at times, like this. And I'm guessing what happened is there were no parts and labor, so you just went, oh, so I just keep the 1.12 part. That's not true, right? It's if there are no parts and labor, that whole part of the equation is gone, of the formula, I should say. And so here we go. You add it all up, you get 20,167.25. Next, leasing. That was a bit of a headache for a lot of us. So this is where you need to pay attention, maybe write down, right? Just use a pen or something. Yep. So the mileage allowance, read carefully, read with me. Is that per year or is that just 25,000 kilometers? It's just 25,000 overall that you're allowed to drive. So if you drove 27,500 and you're allowed 25,000, then this is what you went over by. Okay, so you get 1 mark for having that done correctly. And to calculate the cost, you take that number, multiply it by 10 cents per kilometer, and then add taxes to it. So you end up with 280. That's the number I was looking for. Some of you had some significant numbers there, like in the 30,000s, right? Well, you still got 1 mark, 1 out of 2 if you got this wrong. Some of you went 3 times 25,000. And I like one of you said, well, you're not over the limit, so no charges. I'm like, okay, good. Kind of right, but there wouldn't be 2 questions worth 2 marks, right, related to that. So that's your mileage charge. And then here, total cost to lease. Lease has down payment plus all of the payments combined, right? The 380, there's the payment right there. Okay. That lease payment, the 380, shows up here. 36 months, you add taxes, and then all of that combined gives you 16,196.60. And of course, if you got this wrong in A, I did not take marks off again, right? So I actually usually go an arrow, carry it. This one was only the purchase. So chooses to purchase at the end of the lease. Calculate the total cost to purchase. Just the purchase, not the lease included. So all you have to do is take the 19,850, multiply by 1.12, and boom, there you got it. I'm going to go a little faster because some of you are like, I got this. Or I hope that's not the case. You don't care. Advantage of leasing, lower monthly payments, lower maintenance costs because you're under warranty, perhaps, safer because you're always driving a new car. Disadvantage, you never own the car. There's a mileage restriction. You can talk about that as well. You're restricted as to how far you can drive or how much you can drive. Some of you said business, like the advantage is good for businesses. In that case, can you be specific, right? Like they can write off the payments or they don't have to worry about maintenance for their fleet or something like that. Fuel economy, I was actually quite happy. Some of you just need to maybe be a bit more careful, but you figured out using the fuel economy, you figured out how many liters, then you figured out the cost of driving. And then if you get a smaller car, how much would you have saved? So you need to figure out the liters with that new fuel economy, figure out the cost, and then the savings will be the difference between these two, right? So 42.26 would be your savings there. So quite a bit of work That's why it was worth 3 marks. Everybody go to the last page because I think there are very few of you that got this completely right. This is go to your study sheet maybe right now. You know the one I showed you that you could use? I once gave you a bit of a sample. Hey, use this one, right? This is with an empty table. Empty table. Like if the table is completely empty, you would use this method because you have to find the interest. But if it's partially filled in, pay close attention. All you have to do is add or subtract numbers. So for example, we know that I and P, right? These two added up, always add up to your payment. So if you have, for example, the principal portion, I just went payment minus that principal, right? I took these two away to give me the 3542. And then this number also brings down your unpaid balance to that. To fill out this cell here, 2 ways. You could have just subtracted these two, or you could have subtracted these two values, but you didn't know this one yet, right? So that's a problem. So you take this minus that gives you this. Pay attention to this one because both of these were empty. So you needed to subtract these two to find your principal. And then you find your interest going backwards, right? Because if you have your payment and the principal, you subtract these two to get the interest portion. So I actually show you the work here, how I came up with that, with this one here, 263.34. I know we don't like amortization tables that much, but please make an effort to go and try a few under amortization tables. Again, leasing, 2 things that we already had that, so I apologize, some repetition there. Same with 5, right? It will cost less to insure getting a used car, something specific to why should you go used from the table I gave you, from the options I gave you. There's lots. I gave you lots. And some of you tried the bonus, and that was 4.25%. I'm not going to take the time right now to show you. If you want to know, you use the I equals PRT formula to figure out the interest rate there. Okay. That's it. So you can put this, keep this with your booklets, right? With your vehicle finance booklets, because you're going to get 6 more. So you want to keep your booklets together, right? Sure. Not a mark out of it, but you get a check mark. How's that? Okay.